ADA, AGI, and KOTI.
Let's get into it.
So today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at the Power 3. These are the three projects that are kind of prominent around everything that's kind of happening over on the Cardano ecosystem in the continent of Africa. And, you know, all that kind of good stuff when it comes to Charles Hoskinson, Ben Goertzel, etc. So we're going to be getting into what's going on with these three, give you a brief update on their performance. We'll also have a look at the entire crypto space, see how the fear and greed index is as a whole, how it is for ADA, for example, and compare the two. We'll have a look at Bitcoin's dominance, as nothing is unexpected there. We'll get into each of these charts and show you where things might be going on the short term, but also on that longer term picture as well. Hopefully, guys, you find this video useful and informative. If you do, then do go ahead and hit that like button for us. We both really do appreciate that. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with those new cryptocurrencies, those hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then why not become a subscriber? By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with absolutely everything. It is free. You'll stay well informed, so why not? And Chris, anything else you'd like to add before we get into everything, ADA, AGI, and KOTI?
Yeah, don't forget you can become a member of Cheeky Crypto on YouTube as well. Nick sort of breaks down how to do some of the more technical stuff. And we've got all our exit strategy videos that we're releasing currently. So you can see all the points in which we look to take profit. Just thought I'd mention that, Nick.
Fantastic. Right, let's jump on down and get into what's going on here.
Let's do it.
Okay, guys, to start with, let's just take a quick look at this fear and greed index. Today is extreme fear, as it was yesterday and the day prior. In fact, all of last week, according to this, it was extreme fear. So you should be fearful, right? Not exactly true. So this is all cryptocurrencies. This is from Bitcoin all the way through to Doge, if you will, and every other rubbish coin in between. So ultimately, what we have here is a relatively generic fear and greed index. It shows you that it should be, pretty fearful, and you should be afraid of your cryptocurrency right now. So it's graded at 14, which is slightly higher than it was yesterday. However, if you actually head over to advice.io and signed up to their platform, it's free to use. And here you can actually go into, let's say, Cardano ADA, for example, and take a look at the fear and greed index that's specific to Cardano. And in this case here, the fear and greed index is actually rated as a B2, and it's not that fearful. So for example, if I hover above some of these areas, you see how it can actually tell you what the gradings are and ultimately how you're currently performing. So right now over here, you can see how there was a little bit of fear, and it's actually graded as a B2. This is artificial intelligence with machine learning to kind of give you a more bespoke cryptocurrency rating for fear and greed. So fear and greed here for Cardano is not as fearful. We've done videos on this in the past where we talk about how fear, the market in general is fearful, but not for Cardano. Cardano holders are holding strong, and they're not buying into some of this FUD. With that being said, there's some interesting stuff going on with the ADA chart, and we're going to go through that in a moment with you guys. So what we have here is obviously a little bit more in the Sharpe ratio. You can dig into this, and you can also zoom in and see exactly what's going on. So if I wanted to just highlight a specific part, I can do that, and you can see how the Sharpe ratio is changing. It's actually graded D at the moment, along with the 𝗕𝗓𝗪, right? So here, this is an interesting one. There is liquidity issues currently here for Cardano, so it's graded D, whereas the profitability when it comes to Cardano, surprisingly enough, is actually doing quite well. It's actually graded A1, right? So you get a little bit more of the granular detail from EVI than you would from anywhere else out there at the moment that I've found. So EVI is doing a pretty good job at getting those ratings up and running. They're constantly adding more coins in. So yeah, do go ahead and sign up and check out EVI, because you are going to learn a little bit more about how these ratings are derived and what the fear and greed index is looking like for specific projects, rather than just a generic fear and greed index like this one. And with that being said, this over here is Bitcoin's dominance. And again, I briefly mentioned at the entrance of this video that nothing strange or different is happening here. We went down to 39 and we've gone back up. We get that bounce, and looks like, I think, in my opinion, we're going to be heading up to about 50% dominance for Bitcoin. And if we scroll across here, this is what happened in the previous bull run. So this is the 2017-2018 bull run. Here we can see that actually we came down to 37 and got the reversal going up to about the midway point at 51. So again, this is exactly what happened prior, and we're seeing it repeat itself. History tends to repeat itself, and in this case for Bitcoin, we come down to 37 in 2017. This actually happened in June of 2017. We were in May 2021, so a little bit earlier, and we actually got the bounce at 39 rather than 37. Looking like we're going to be heading up here. This actually happened to peak out here at around the July time, and then obviously had a bit of a dip down over here where altcoins started to get some traction again before retesting, coming back down, and then going a little bit higher up here by December. Okay, so there's a bit of a battle between Bitcoin and altcoins in terms of dominance, and it's quite clear to see that's what happened here before the alt season actually really peaked out and took control, where Bitcoin's dominance dropped all the way down to 32. Now, what we're looking at over here is the very early stages of that. We've come down to the first bounce of 39, looking to move up to about 51. Slight pull back down, and then it will go ahead and go up to about 60 odd percent dominance before dropping right the way down to 32, or a little bit around that area. It's not going to be exactly what it was last year. It's probably going to be a little bit higher or a little bit lower. It's going to be in that zone though. So ultimately we can tell that we're in the very early stages of the bull run. This is the first time Bitcoin's dominance has dropped like this, and it's going back up. It's going to be volatile as it moves all the way up to about 67 or 65%, and then it will drop back down as we see the altcoins really peak in. So we know that we're in a bull market, we're not in a bear market, and this is exactly what happened previously over here in 2017, 2018, and is not to be, anything different. It's not a bear market. We are in a bull market. We're in the early stages of it, and I can go ahead and confirm that when we take a look at this. This here is Cardano's charts. This is to the USDT. This is the weekly chart for Binance, okay? And what we can see here is a Elliott wave, right? So as part of the previous couple of videos we've done, we've got another one here. This one is showing you how the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave is currently forming. But there's also something else that's forming that's interesting here that we need to pay attention to. So the first one is obviously wave 1 from our low in the crash of March 2020. That's where the market really picked up and started to move to the upside in a bullish sentiment. We had the wave 2, which pulled it down to the corrective state. We then moved up wave 3, which is the most recent run to those fantastic all-time highs for Cardano. And then we're in wave 4 right now. Now, wave 4 could be short-lived. And if it is short-lived, then I'm going to say there's a different pattern forming here that we've seen recently with Bitcoin. So to be very cautious, if we go ahead and actually go up to this extension level up here straight away, which I know a few traders are talking about, potentially $7 ADA really soon, then if that's the case, that is more of a Wyckoff formation that's been potentially on the cards here. So we need to be very, very cautious at that point. If it goes up to $7 really, really quickly right now, then I would say, yeah, there's a room to be concerned. We'll probably fall down, and there'll be one more peak above this potentially before it absolutely crashes down. So that's one scenario that could play out. So we have to be mindful of that. And the other thing is we don't know if we have found the bottom for Cardano's ADA. So this particular Fibonacci retracement zone here actually comes in at 91 cent. And if that is the low, then we haven't actually reached it yet, and we are likely to get there. Then that shows us about that peak coming in here at about $7.66. However, we obviously have been speaking about some of the fundamental stuff that's been going on with Cardano and what that might mean in the future. So for Cardano, we've been talking about $10, $15, maybe even $20, and there are some traders talking some really high numbers about $40, right? And that's kind of what we covered last night in last night's video, where the analyst 𝗕𝗘𝗪𝗀 is talking about a $40 ADA. Now, in that scenario, we actually have to drop down much lower than 91 cents. So I've actually marked out two zones down here. We can drop down to potentially the peak of wave 1, which will get us down to about 16 cent ADA. I don't think that's very likely, but if it did drop down that low, then we would see some interesting numbers getting hit at around the $10 level. Okay. If, however, we only drop down to the next kind of support line down here at about 39 cent, there'll be some fantastic deals to accumulate. But then you'll be looking to potentially bounce up to about $9.34. So really have to be paying attention as to how this one plays out, whether or not we're going to see that $7 instantly, in which case there'll be a little bit of another peak somewhere else, maybe around the $8 before a complete crash. or we're going to extend much deeper into a deeper correction for ADA after this particular run in wave 3, and in which case we'll see some fantastic high numbers being achieved up here for Cardano's ADA. With that being said, a different pattern may emerge as well, because some of those fundamentals that are happening in this space could drive Cardano's ADA even higher than some of these other technicals are actually indicating to us currently. So we do have to be mindful that what Cardano are doing in the real world is absolutely massive, and it could have an impact on this technical data, and therefore actually show us a much higher number where we go after that super cycle heading towards $20, because this particular project has the potential to go completely parabolic considering what it is doing in the real world. So Cardano is a bit of an anomaly to some of these things. And right now we are seeing $7 is on the cards here, and that's the lower level. And then obviously you go up to $9.50 or $9.30, and then potentially into $10 to $15 range. And obviously, it could go higher than that depending on what else happens in those fundamentals. So for Cardano's ADA here, it's actually looking quite good. It's obviously very bullish. It's not bearish, as many people are calling out that we're in a bear market. There's nothing here that's indicating to me that we're in a bear market. We're very much in a bull market. And it's obvious to see when you look at Bitcoin's dominance, the history of Bitcoin as a whole, and obviously everything going on with the Wyckoff distribution. Potentially that's also forming here on Cardano as well. And those are some institutions that have been buying into Cardano, so we do have to be mindful of what's going on there as well. Let's take a look at AGI. AGI is the other one that's actually partnered up with Cardano. We'll be having that joint office over in Ethiopia, and this one is a very interesting chart as well. So here we have the weekly chart for AGI, so Singularity Net. We obviously have wave 1 starting again in the March crash, where pretty much most of the actual bull season really started. And from here we obviously have that peak up in August, which you saw, that was wave 1 complete. Wave 2 was the correction that we saw in late October, and then obviously wave 3, the highs of April 2020. Now obviously pulling this down, we've left this kind of gap down here, so our yellow box does need to be filled in a little bit, and there's potential to drop AGI a little bit lower towards that 9 cent area. Now if that happens, that'll be fantastic. We've actually just entered into this yellow box, so this is the accumulation zone. We actually just entered into this box today, so this actually pulls us down towards the peak of wave 1. Okay, so from here this actually then would trigger, once we kind of bottom this out, up into the wave 5, right? And wave 5 actually takes us up to about $2.21.5. So some pretty fantastic numbers there. But obviously over here we have the history of AGI and what that looks like. So obviously the all-time high for AGI came in, I think, at $1.86. And again, this actually peaks up about $7.87. So AGI has some pretty good potential there to extend away and above this as well. So we have to see if the fundamentals of this project, everything that they're trying to do with artificial general intelligence, goes ahead and actually pushes above the expectations of the previous of this Elliott wave, right? The 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Because ultimately this is currently looking at $2.21, which would be a new all-time high for Singularity Net, but definitely is not in line with the previous all-time high and the extension levels of the Fibonacci retracement from the previous high. So right now we're going to be mindful of what this is actually showing us. It may mean that we have a deeper correction for wave 4 that actually gets us out to those higher highs, or whether or not actually there'll be something else going on here that we need to also see in time as this chart develops. But right now, again, just like Cardano's ADA, Singularity Net, with everything that they're doing in terms of partnering up and moving from Ethereum over to Cardano to take advantage of the superior technology, having the joint office over in Ethiopia, and you're going to see the two companies basically leveraging each other to forward this space significantly. So when we start seeing Singularity Net DAO, Cardano's ADA, and KOTI, all three of these things together are going to be pretty interesting to see how everything unfolds over in Africa, and starting with Ethiopia. So right now for AGI here, we are looking to come deeper into this yellow box, potentially pulling right down into that 9 cent really, pull it down to 9 cent as a potential low, and then shooting on up to the fifth wave here, which should hopefully come in at around the $2.21 area, but has the potential to obviously extend into those higher areas here: $4.84, $6.72, and then $7.84. So there's some pretty good potential here for AGI, Singularity Net, and I think it's going to be fantastic to see. So let's get into that third one, guys, which is KOTI. Let's just bring that up to USDT, and we'll use Binance again. So again, here we have the weekly chart for KOTI, and again, not a lot of data actually as around here for KOTI on Binance, but obviously the low starts in March as always. Wave 1 was complete up in August. Wave 2 was complete by the end of October, and again, the peak that came in actually in March for this one. And the correction, again, we have this yellow box as an area that potentially needs to be filled. We've entered it into it today as the deeper correction starts to come in here. And again, this shows us a low of about 9.6 cent. And then from here, we should be looking to move up to the fifth wave, going in at $2.22. And again, KOTI being the payment processor for ADA Pay and all of that kind of good stuff. Again, these three projects, when you combine them together, is looking in very, very, very good and very attractive proposition considering the bull run that we are in. Now, again, the relative strength index are very well corrected, really correcting nicely, and huge amounts of potential to the upside on this weekly chart. So right now, things are looking pretty good for completing wave 4 as expected on pretty much AGI and KOTI. The only one that's a bit off at the moment seems to be ADA, with knowing exactly where that one is actually going to lie and whether or not actually a Wyckoff is actually forming there as well in the background. And we will know for sure in due course once we kind of get into completing wave 4, moving into wave 5, how quickly it moves up to $7 is going to be the thing that tells us whether or not ADA is being manipulated in the same way that Bitcoin has just been manipulated too. And of course, under that circumstances, you can guarantee almost that if a Wyckoff is put in place for ADA, there's the potential for ADA to also do incredibly well after, as a lot of people are now seeing that Bitcoin could potentially go up to that $70, $80 range relatively quickly after the Wyckoff distribution has completed on wave 4. So it's really interesting to see how this plays out. Lots going on in this space, and I think ADA, AGI and KOTI, the three of them combined, are an absolute powerhouse when it comes to conquering everything that's going to be happening over in Africa. But Chris, obviously gone through the technicals there. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yes, I mean, it's difficult to sort of add to that, Nick. I mean, just like yourself, I'm still bullish. These three projects are projects that we've been calling out for a while now. We expect them to do phenomenally well with everything that's going on in Africa. And it's going to be interesting to see if there's some additional adoption over the next sort of few months as well, with smart contracts for Cardano sort of on the horizon now. Yeah, everything's sort of teeing up nicely for these three projects, and it's going to be interesting to see where we are in sort of December, January time. Really looking forward to it.
Absolutely. So guys, if you found this video useful, informative, do go ahead and hit that like button for us. We both really do appreciate it. And of course, if you happen to be new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all those new cryptocurrencies, the hidden gems, the technical analysis and news, then do become a subscriber, because becoming a subscriber, you'll be kept up to date with absolutely everything. It is free. You'll stay well informed. So why not? With that said, done and out of the way, we hope you have a fantastic day, guys, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Yeah, take care.